This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. Just kind of rinse and repeat of yesterday, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Another poor showing by this Rays offense. And it was their demise, unfortunately, in this series. This series was rinse and repeat of last series against the Guardians. Though they win big in the first game, they get really outplayed, outmanaged, out everything the next three games. Just very disappointing end to this series. And we're back in that. We're back in that mode where we're no longer talking about the playoffs. They need, with the Mariners winning today, the Rays are back to 4 back with 20 games to play. It's going to have to take something spectacular, another one of those 7-game win streaks or something. So the playoffs will not be mentioned until they're like 2.5 back or closer. Let's say that. But in this one, we're going to talk about how we went from 7 in a row to 3 losses in a row. How this game, really last 2 games, looks just like it did in July. RIP to the playoffs, and we'll look ahead to the White Sox series. But first, we got to talk about how bad this offense was.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Most of the times when you get 9 hits, you get more than 1 run. It's not that the offense was bad at applying pressure. They were bad in the sense that, once again, for the second straight game, they didn't have any hits with runners in scoring position. And there were a few times where that was really glaring. Right after, in the bottom of the 6th, when after the Guardians scored, Brandon Lowe doubled. And I felt like that was a big point. You get a runner on second, nobody out, and then 3 strikeouts, not even a threat. But what the one that I thought was even worse was in the bottom of the 4th inning, when there was first and second, nobody out, and Josh Slay immediately grounds into a double play. Those were the 2 points offensively where, like, man, you finally stack together some hits, you get some runners in scoring position, and just nothing doing. And if I'm not mistaken, those are the only times the Rays got runners into scoring position. And it's just not good enough. The Rays struck out a ton today also. A lot that the Rays did today was just not good enough. And a lot of that starts with how bad that they were on offense, specifically in big spots, which when they won 7 in a row, they always seem to come out with that big hit. So these last 10 games have really been a microcosm of the Rays season. Really, really good, then really, really bad. And they haven't spent much time in that middle zone of, okay, when we play our B- game, we can still get a lot of wins. It's really been one or the other. But the pitching, I mean, when you allow 1 run, I don't know what else you expect. I thought Clevenger even did a good job of getting everyone in position to get out of that jam with a runner on third, nobody out, with only allowing that 1 run. But Kevin Kelly comes in, immediately throws a meatball right down the middle, and just like that, the Rays are down 2-1. So that was a big spot, and that's why it's our turning point this afternoon.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
There's not much to say about Clevenger. It's the first time he allowed an earned run since the second half. But he did pitch yesterday. He only 12 pitches, though, so not unusual for him to pitch today. But we're 7 days into September, and he's already pitched 5 times. Some of that might be fatigue a little bit. Thankfully, the Rays finally get an off day tomorrow. First off day, it feels like forever. But a lot of these bullpen arms, I feel like, are kind of used out because the Rays are kind of managing their starters a little bit. And, I don't think Drew Rasmussen was managed today. I thought he really battled. He didn't have his best stuff again, but Drew Rasmussen not having his best stuff was still 5 scoreless innings, right? The walks were up there a little bit, but when Rasmussen has 82 pitches going into the 6th inning, he's not going back out there for the 6th inning. It's kind of been the status quo for this season. So, yeah, just a lot that the Rays did today wasn't good enough, and that happened to be a part of it. That 6th inning, and it probably should have been worse. The Guardians probably should have had more runs, but twice they were thrown out at home plate. Clevenger made a nice throw, and Quan was thrown out at home. So the Rays defense showed up today, but you can't keep allowing them to get those opportunities. And teams are going to score, right? You never angry when teams score, but it's the Rays failing to capitalize on their situations running scoring position. And now there's 2 straight games of that. And it's really not. It's not even like they've had a few competitive at bats and just missed, right, or a great play. No, it's like most of the time they're striking out in those situations, or a weak ground ball gets them out of it. So the offense has gone dead for the most part, and these last 3 games really looks like it did for the Rays in July when they went through that stretch. So again, it's just funny how the Rays were so good for 7 games, just like they were so good in June, and then they were so bad for 3 games, just like they were in July. And again, it was a little bit different. Like yesterday was the bullpen kind of not blowing up, Pete giving up another run, blowing the tie game. Today was the offense kind of slowing down, not doing anything. The 2 games ago, it was the starter, or technically relief pitcher Seymour, giving up 5 runs. And that's exactly kind of in that order what happened. The Rays couldn't play all 3 phases at a high level enough. And so that's why these last 3 games are kind of in a microcosm of that whole kind of situation. But we are going to talk about how this is the end of the Rays playoff hopes, I think, and we're going to look ahead to the White Sox series right after this. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and even when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice the inefficient investments, allocation, and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off Monarch Money. That's 50% off Monarch at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. This episode is also brought to you by Zippix. The Zippix toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or energy boost, Zippix has you covered with all the nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy your cravings and hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. If you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Again, we've talked about a lot of times we go through the week. It's a long week. Still want to stay up for Rays postcasts. Right, Zippix is another thing. You can get the caffeine toothpicks, and for big meetings, long drives, gives you that energy that you need. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning: nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks. So, like I mentioned before. Again, if you guys are in the live, please leave a like and comment. If you're watching the replay, also please leave a like. Obviously, the Bucks game is going on right now, so I didn't expect too big of a crowd, but it is hopefully the Bucks can win and save our Sunday a little bit. But as we go to talk about the Rays, who are now 4 games back from the wild card, and it's a tough blow getting to 2 games. You're right there, and that's why I talk about why this game was so important. Because you're going to play Chicago, you're going to play the White Sox, and after that, your schedule is brutal. You play the Cubs, you play the Red Sox like 7 times, you play the Red Sox 3 times, you play the Blue Jays 6 or 7 times, and you play at Baltimore, where you have struggled the last 2 years. You need to win this game, and then probably go at least 1, 2, or 3. Now you're in the position where you probably have to sweep the White Sox in order to have a chance. And whenever you're saying that, that means you're really not in a great spot, if that makes sense. If you're saying that you have to sweep teams in order to make the playoffs, that means you're chasing, and that's what the Rays have been doing ever since the All-Star break, is chasing. So as again, when you look to see who the Mariners play, they played the Cardinals. It's another winnable series for them. The Rays have one of the hardest strength of schedules left after the White Sox series. So that's why I was saying this game was so critical, because Cleveland is a fine team. They're not a team that is elite, right? If Cleveland somehow does make the playoffs, they're not going far in the playoffs. Like, I think the Rays are better equipped to go further in the playoffs than Cleveland. But when you looked at who the Rays are playing, when you're playing the Cubs division leaders, the Red Sox, who I think could be a contender if they get hot. The Blue Jays are obviously a division leader. Those teams are much higher, are a lot better than what than the Rays are going to face. But let's go ahead and look ahead to the game on Tuesday. Again, finally an off day for the Rays. And I say that, obviously I want to watch the Rays every single day, but because this bullpen desperately needs an off day. I mean, the Rays have played since Cleveland, right? They've played for like 2 weeks straight. So finally good for the bullpen to get an off day. Adrian Hauser going up against his old team versus Andreas Gomez for the White Sox. So Gomez is one of those interesting guys that have just starting for the White Sox. He was previously with the Dodgers, and this will be just his 6th start. So, and all of his starts, he hasn't gone past 5 innings. And a lot of those times he gets to those 5 innings, but with a lot of pitches. For example, he had 6 walks in his previous outing, 2 outings ago against the Yankees, right? So he can be all over the place. They just have to be patient and selective with their pitches. He is a righty, 25 years old, 8.32 the 4.79 ERA. But again, he's a guy that just started starting and hasn't got more than 5 innings in any of those starts. So not to mention he's been pretty good starting. Like last time against the Twins, 5 innings, only 1 earned. 2 times before against the Twins, 4 2/3, 2 hits, no earned. So he's a guy that the White Sox have kind of found some success with since they've moved him into the starting rotation. And then when we look to see some of the other matchups coming up in this series, obviously Adrian Hauser, who's been really good, will go up against his former team. Tomorrow's starter has not been announced for the White Sox, but they'll be going up against Ryan Pepio, who's continued to have a very strong year. Then it's Ian Seymour, who's going to go up against Shane Smith, who the Rays have also faced so far this year, and he's probably their best pitcher. 5-7 with a 3.95 ERA. So it's not something that the Rays need to. It's not something that they're going to take lightly the series, obviously, but it is one where if the Rays do want to make a push to the playoffs, they're probably going to have to sweep. And the Rays have struggled against the White Sox. It has been it has been rough against the White Sox this year, to say the very least. As we go to Gary, and this is exactly how I'm feeling. He says, extremely disappointed. Felt really good going into the weekend, hoping for 3 out of 4. Realized I get crushed Friday night, but the last 2 games with Guardians were both very winnable. You could argue that they should have won these games, and not should have, needed to win these games in order to go they wanted to go to, and they didn't, right? And that's kind of been the story of the Rays season. I really feel like the Rays are just a bat or 2 away from really being good. The infield is kind of set if you're a Carson Williams believer. You need that right-handed bat in the outfield that you trust to play almost every single day. And I don't know where the Rays are going to find that. Hopefully they can find that in free agency, maybe in a trade. But I really do think that the Rays are in that. As we go to Gretchen Crespo, she says Tampa Bay bats fell silent, 2-1 loss to the Guardians. Such a bummer. It is a bummer, and I think that's the way to put it. It's disappointing that the Rays couldn't stack together. Again, they won 7 in a row, right? This regression was going to fall, especially around the scoring position. The Rays during their 7-game winning streak was batting almost 500 with running scoring position. We were due to see a little bit of regression, but I didn't know the regression was going to be like 0 for the last 11 with runners in scoring position. That's a tough one to swallow. Let's go to Doug Bautista. Says, was at the game today, got $25 seats, 8 rows behind the plate. Clevenger struggled to grip the ball. Can't win games when we score 1 run, but the pitching and the downpour is unfortunate. Yeah, that's what I thought, because right when he started raining, right when he started pitching, it started pouring rain. So I did feel for him a little bit. And just like Florida, it went away like 2 seconds later. So, not much you can do there if you're Clevenger. And this was something I was actually going to bring up, Gary. So thanks for bringing this up. He says the Rays are 2-5 against the Guardians this season, during the season series. Believe they're a better overall team than Cleveland, but they didn't play well. And the Chicago will not be easy. Hope I'm wrong. I hope we're wrong too about the chances, but you can't go 2-5 against a team like the Guardians, who again they're a fine team. They're not an elite team, and expect to win games. Just like you can't lose a series to the White Sox and expect to make the playoffs, right? There's going to be 7 or 8 games, and there's more games this year than in previous years that I've kind of circled. Like, man, those were tough breaks. You got the Rafael home run in Boston, the Cal Raleigh throwing home run in Seattle. And there's a few more sprinkled in there. There's really 5, 6, 7 of them. We're like, man, those are tough breaks for the Rays. When you look back, those are going to be the ones that are like, oh, man, the Rays didn't make the playoffs. And these few are the games. And like I said yesterday, there's been more games this season where I felt like the Rays played better than the other team and lost than the Rays kind of coming up and stealing one, right? the Friday night in Washington, I felt like the Rays stole that game in the first game. Outside of that, the second half of the year, I can't really name a time where the Rays just kind of got lucky, right? The luck really seems to have been going up against the Rays. That's what their expected win-loss shows, and that's what the eye test has really been showing. But luck is part of the game. That's part of baseball. And the Rays really need a strong last 20 games in order to do anything. And it starts Tuesday night in Chicago. So I appreciate all you guys for watching. We're going to get out of here. Hopefully the Bucks can make this Sunday a little bit better for all of us Rays fans, if you guys are Bucks fans. And hopefully you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you guys for joining once again. I will see you guys tomorrow night.